At the lower year levels at the school, we've had some major restructuring happening. One of the main things has been to limit the number of teachers that students have so that they have a Year 7 team, a Year 8 team and a Year 9 team who can get to know the students better and the students get to know them better and work with them more closely.
Well, this young boy started in kindergarten and he didn't hit my radar at all in kindergarten. But the following year he went from a different classroom environment. It was probably a much smaller classroom and probably a lot less structure in the way the program was offered. And he started acting out. He would be really a handful for the teacher. Over time, with the person who was working with the special ed, we put in place a whole lot of strategies to assist him. So with visuals and calming corners, social stories. There was a support group that we called Tool Time in the school, and gradually he would make a change. But there was a time where he had a very serious incident with another child. The parent was of that child was wanting, I think, to remove the child from the school because of the concern that her child may be injured. And we ended up having a number of meetings about that. Often they were very heated, with me going into bat for the student with the disability and her possibly wanting the expulsion or the removal of this child. And I wasn't prepared to let that happen. And so sometimes in this job you have to fight. You have to fight hard for these students because they really don't have terribly many people to fight for them. And there was a lot of conversation going on around how we support the child and how we can make the place safe for everybody else.
And one of the other things that we've introduced is a learning mentor system where each mentor, staff member, has a group of 13 students that they track through the school and look after their needs both pastorally and academically, and just to have someone that definitely knows what's happening for that student so they don't slip through the cracks.
An amazingly powerful story that I can share with you is about our parents. They've formed together a group that they call Tricky Kids, and it's an incredible support group for these parents. They get together and they talk about how tricky their kids are and how demanding their life is, and they talk proactively about strategies. They develop friendships within the group. A spin-off of that is that some of these parents were quite disempowered, that they were quite socially isolated. They tell us stories about how their children go to sleepovers, and again, you know, they've been socially isolated. And then I do something like walk down to canteen to get my lunch, and there's one of the mothers working in the canteen. And I just think, wow, you have built this and you've enabled this, and it's the most supportive and amazing tool that we have.
We also had the opportunity then to start a cultural shift from that mentality of special eds in the annex, away out of mainstream, to having really all of our students in classes for most of the time. Colour is gradually coming into the whole scene at school. At first there was some resistance about visuals being only for early childhood and childish, but now they are springing up in every primary classroom. Every classroom has a timetable. Most classrooms use timers now. There are visuals now for picking up the degrees of noise like they do on fire, you know, danger, bushfire danger signs. The wheels are starting to shift. It's like moving a big stone, you know. It's just starting to roll. It really is. People don't even talk about annex now. They talk about the learning centre, and they talk about it positively, and they want to be part of that. And children move from there and transition to classrooms without much problem, and transition to other learning environments without much problem. So if you stood out and sort of stood in the middle of the quadrangle with your binoculars and you tried to spot the ASD student, you'd have difficulty sometimes.